Welcome and cheers. So, it's just been apparently a really lovely weekend with my dear friend or friends and brother and sister, Tobias and Tatiana, and we had a very fun time. And it was essentially an exploration of this. And this is also this gathering is also an exploration of this. And it's a timeless exposure. The reason it's said that this is a timeless exposure is because there is absolutely no process. There's no process on offer. There's nothing on offer, actually. The divine freedom and celebratory expressing of this is it. This, what appears to be, is it. It's unconditionally it. Nothing to get through, nothing to get past, nothing to bypass, nothing to relinquish, surrender, or let go of either. Just just this immediacy. That's all it's about. The natural reality that is spontaneously and vibrantly and immediately being whatever is appearing to happen. And the storytelling might seem to show up, and that's, that I really mean there's no obstacles. So storytelling is not an obstacle. Seeking is not an obstacle. Resisting isn't an obstacle. Sitting quietly or getting on with, practices, that there are no obstacles. Nothing is seen as wrong or right. Nothing is seen as a hindrance. Nothing is seen as something in the way that could not be in the way. There's nothing to be done, really. And there's nothing to not be done as well. I mean, there's some kind of enjoyment or satisfaction, it would seem, to really cover all bases, so to speak, because it's so easily the simplicity of this is so simple, it would seem, that it's so easily misinterpreted. That if there's nothing to be done, well, then that means X, Y, and Z. But there's no X, Y, and Z to link up to this. There's nothing to be telling about it, really. So when it's said that there's nothing to be done, it's also said that there's nothing to not be done. When it's said that there's nothing that can be done, it's also said that there's no one. There is no one that can actually here be doing anything. So it's really, the full expression of freedom to really point out that, not only is there no meaning, but there isn't anything to have meaning. There isn't anything to have no meaning either. It's not that nothing matters, it's that there is nothing to matter. And that's quite, it would seem, a different statement. That there isn't actually something to matter. Mattering is relative, and meaning is relative. Process, practice, path, journey, and destination is all relative. And this is an absolute expression of freedom in the most unconditional sense. It's so beyond comprehension, precisely because of how simple it actually is. It can often be thought and felt as something really complicated, but actually it's closer than the in-breath. And that doesn't mean that it's really, really close or that it's really, really near. It's just simply sitting, screening, and catting. Just the simplicity of whatever's showing up without a meaning or a purpose to sync it up to, without a destination or a something else to talk about it. This does not relate to that. There is only this. And if that seems to appear, that's this too. So an inescapable, an unavoidable, and an utterly undeniable this. So boundless, so whole, so free, that it's impossible to navigate. It's just totally this. I mean, no other. I mean, there are a few words it would seem in the linguistics of it, but the word "this" just really cuts through the nonsense and the complexity and the trying to make something change or happen or be different. Just naturally, vibrantly this. We can talk about, sensation and feeling, tone, and storytelling and whatever else might appear, but it's only ever this, and it's not even coming back to this. There's no return to this. There's no getting away from this. There's no revealing this even. There is only this. There's nothing to be revealed or discovered. There's nothing to be hidden or secret. There's nothing to be obtained or accomplished. So this is unownable. It's unobjectifiable. It's unknowable, therefore, unrelatable. And there can be fear in the appearance of this timeless exposure. There can be a sense that this is actually developing into something, or that something is seeming to change in the illusory perception of continuity. Well, if that seems to be appearing, then that's just what seems to be appearing. Nothing wrong or right with anything without storytelling again. And there's no sense that storytelling is in the way. I know I said that already, but I really want to emphasize that there's no sense that stories are that they shouldn't be happening, because the whole should and shouldn't energy is precisely part of the storytelling energy. It lives within the story. So if should and shouldn't doesn't exist outside of the story, well then again, neutrally speaking, equanimously speaking, storytelling or not, who cares? It's an unconditional so what? Whatever appears to be happening, so what? It's just this. It's just this. So let's play, let's chat, let's not, let's sit quietly, let's cry or laugh or whatever else. There's no, there's nothing to find out or figure out. There's nowhere to get, nothing to impress or improve, nothing to get wrong or right. Hey Ben.
Alexis, um, I'm recovering from some pretty gnarly surgery on the
Oh,
back of my nose, and that's why it sounds strange.
bless you.
And I just thought I'd share something. Um, when I came out of theatre, I was in a lot of pain. I'd asked for no painkillers, so I came out, and the pain was so intense that for a few moments, I just absolutely saw the pain as
Hmm.
just energy moving through, and it was completely impersonal.
Hmm.
And it was just being, being as it was. And then over the last few days, I've been recovering, and I mean, I watch your videos all the time, and Jim's videos all the time, and it's there isn't a video that I haven't watched, and they're all maxed out, in terms of being watched on YouTube, and I go fall asleep to them, and I wake up to them, and it's just something pulling me back every single time,
Mhm.
every day.
Mhm.
And I was off the back of well, seemingly off the back of watching one of Jim's videos where he said something. I don't know whether you want to call it a glimpse or whatever, but it was the appearance was was it was more like glass, like it
Mm,
was like shimmering glass, and it was so clear that this is what's longed for,
mm,
like beyond doubt that this was what was longed for the entire time.
mm,
And he'd said something about the idea of a position. So if I'm speaking, if I believe I'm speaking from here, this distance, I'm speaking to you.
mm,
He'd said that, and in that moment, it made so much sense that it's like an infinity here collapsing into an infinity there, completely distanceless, you know.
mm.
And I was sat around by a couple of members of my family, and it was exactly like that. It seemed absurd that there could ever be a singular starting point for a conversation or some words to come out within infinity. It didn't make any sense that that
Mm,
would be the case, that you'd have a
mm.
start point and then an end point, a subject and an object.
Right.
It was just an infinitude, you know. And
Mhm.
it's just it was incredible. So I'm quite glad I had the surgery now. Yeah. So yeah, happy days. But yeah, thanks for doing these, Alexis. Appreciate you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah,
Cheers.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the collapse, the so-called illusory collapse of subject-object is just absolutely incomprehensible, and it's completely unknowable, and yet paradoxically or oxymoronically it's totally undeniable, and yet there's no one there to remain to claim to know that, to stand apart from whatever is appearing, whether it's pain or pleasure or something neutral. There's nothing to stand apart to say, that I had that or I was there. It's like total incomprehensible absence of anyone knowing, and yet it's in that immediacy is such a palpable undeniability of, well, immediacy of the natural reality that is organically and already totally this. Yeah. Because then even memories can't be abstracted to tell a story about something before this or after this. Well, that's this too. Unabstracted, therefore it's totally timeless. And it's already, the alreadiness is, yeah, so boundless. Yeah, it was never distant. This what's longed for, as you say, never ever distant. Mm. Mm. There are many beautiful oxymorons or oxymoronic terms that seem to appear within an apparent communication that often gets called non-duality. And one of them is inescapable freedom. There's often a association with the word freedom, and the antonym to that being bondage, and the yeah oxymoronic basically meaning that the two words would seem to contradict one another or rule each other out or something. Like the open secret as well would be another one. That this is so open, so wide open that it can't be known, because if it was slightly constricted, then it might be distant, then it might be separate, and then someone could know it. So it hides in plain sight by being everything, is what Tony likes to say. And yeah, inescapable freedom would be another, it would seem to be another term. It's so free, it's so totally vast and vast, beyond space and time. There's no way of getting out of that. There's no way of getting away from that. There is nothing but that. There's no one in that. There's no thing in that. So it's completely inescapable and yet is unconditionally free.
Hey Alexis.
Hello, lovely.
Hey. Um, I am not experiencing this at the moment, but last night I woke up in the night and it maybe had been stewing before. Actually, I think I've had this different times recently, but just this like fear and dread around meaninglessness.
Oh, right.
Um, and it's like something I'm trying to understand too, even like, well, like kind of reason with myself almost about of like, well, there's just life. It doesn't need a meaning.
Mm,
So why this fear?
hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would suggest that because meaning is relative, it's a relative situation. This means something to me. And so if it seems like there's an energy which has perceived itself to be subjective or seemed to feel itself to be subject, then it only ever seems to exist when it's got something to relate to, an object. Any object will do, really. But it desperately seems to, in the illusion of it, require an object to relate to. Um, and if it doesn't have an object to relate to, it doesn't exist. The subject and the object are interdependent, you see, and that's a relative reality. And so, also within that paradigm, it seems to apply meaning to that which it relates to, because that gives it a context, and context is safety. For example, if I have something to look forward to, that gives me a sense of purpose. It gives me a sense of meaning, perhaps. It gives me a sense of direction. And then I feel safe and secure in that reality of having a meaning. Meaning kind of lubricates my reality of continuity. But that is completely unreal. There's no reality to continuity. So it's already not an actual happening. It's not an appearance. It's unreal. It's an illusion. And yeah, meaning sense it seems to validate and seems to give a sense of solidity to storytelling. So it seems very, very bleak and hard and perhaps even unnatural for that illusory ball of energy, if we can just momentarily call it that. It seems very, very difficult and unnatural for that to live without a meaning, because meaning it gives it a sense of something to relate to. This means that. Meaning is separation in that sense. This means that. So meaning is a story and it's separate based. So it's not that your life doesn't have meaning. It's that there isn't actually a you that has a life that could have a meaningful life or that could have a meaning to that life. If there is no relativity and no separation, and if there is no one, just unconditional love and freedom, no meaning to be found. Because there's nothing to have meaning. It's not that it's almost halfway statement really to say that there's no meaning. It's that there's no, it would seem to be more fully rounded to say that there isn't actually anything to have meaning.
Mm.
Because if you say that life has no meaning, it's kind of validating that life is an appearance, but it's just meaningless. And that seems more like a nihilistic statement rather than an absolute non-duality exposure. There isn't something to have meaning. Yeah. And also in that absolute exposure, the need for meaning completely dissolves. It's totally redundant because this is abundantly whole and absolute, and therefore there's no meaning to be found, and nor is there a need for one. But again, just to finish all of that, the energy of their feeling something to be relative, something separate, would seem to very much demand meaning and depend on it. Yeah, for its storytelling energy.
Yeah. Almost like sometimes that energy demands like a problem to, in the same way, like to somehow keep that context of
Yeah,
me and other.
yeah, yeah. Popular story is that there's a problem and therefore there's a solution
Mhm.
and a remedy. So a remedy to fix something.
Mm. Thank you.
Thank you.
There you go, Alexis.
Hey.
Yeah. Um, I'd noticed you quoted uh, Jesus a few times, um, and it seems pretty clear to me from like the Gospel of Thomas and that kind of thing that he was talking about this. You
Hmm.
know, is that your interpretation?
Would you just remind me of the Gospel of Thomas?
Yeah. So there's sections in it. So it's the one I think you quoted where he says, "Even the stones will cry this out."
Oh,
You know, the stones
yeah,
on the ground cry this out.
yeah.
If you shut up my disciples, even the stones cry out. So everything is screaming this
Mm,
all of the time. You
mm,
know, without any let up. You know. Um,
yeah.
so and from the Gospel of Thomas, you get Gnosticism, which is it's a story, obviously, but it's the same thing as like Kali Ma, the Great Mother is Sophia, and out of the Great Mother Sophia comes the Demiurge, and, and you get separation,
Mm,
um, the illusion of separation out of the one. But that's apparently what Jesus was saying to the ones who would listen. You know, if you have ears to hear,
mm,
then you'll hear it. But I just wanted to get your interpretation of I suppose stuff that runs through the Bible because there does seem a lot of
mm,
this that runs through it. Obviously, it's little bits; it's not the whole thing. But like the story of Adam and Eve is clearly this clearly this.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it seems very much like the metaphor of and the symbology of Adam and Eve is yeah poetically quite in yeah very on the money, so to speak. Yeah, it seems to be a book of anecdotes and symbols for the most part, many of which yeah seem to be somewhat translatable to a non-dual exposure without path, practice, and process. Yeah. Even the stones of this too, you know, the indiscernible, the that which can't be distinguished. There's everything which is nothing, and that's all there is, and that's this. Yeah, and everything is that. Everything is included, so to speak, and yet there are no things to be included or excluded. Um, yeah, so I don't know what more to say about it really, but it seems like there's plenty of anecdotes in there and stories and symbols pointing to the unpoint toable. Yeah. And you can also find that in the Tao Te Ching and uh, some verses of the Dhammapada. I wouldn't go as far as to say every verse in the Dhammapada, at least in the translations that we see. But some of them are very direct, without teaching, without any instruction or navigation. Just total dynamic, direct exposure of what is already the absolute. The thing is, I guess what more I could say is that any scripture, whether ancient or modern, um, it is so easily susceptible to turning into some kind of applicable thing and a relatable thing, and understandably and naturally, that's when it becomes a dualistic paradigm, that there's something that someone's relating to and that someone is using it to get somewhere. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I really don't see anything wrong with that at all. But there's just a clear distinction between what would seem to be absolute and what would seem to be relative. And non-duality is not two. So actually, it's neither. To say non-duality is absolute but not relative in a way, that's a dualistic statement too. Um,
yeah,
but but yes, there's
it's
the absolute, which is totally unrelatable. There's nothing to relate to the absolute. And there's the relative, which is suggested to be the absolute being an illusion of duality. And usually those scriptures and sutras and books of different times and places are often turned into a relative thing, or
yeah,
seem to be.
yeah. Well, it's like as soon as it has application, it's dead almost. And like so, thou shalt. As soon as it's thou shalt not, well, you're out of it, and yeah,
Yeah. Mm.
because it doesn't make any sense to this.
Yes, yeah. Even the term original sin is just so easily misinterpreted. It's the word sin is loaded with connotations of badness or wrongness,
Yeah,
but actually it just simply means, or I would suggest it simply means innocently missing the mark. There's nothing evil, wrong, or bad about that at all. It's just the missing the mark. Yeah, yeah.
awesome. Thanks, Alexis.
Thank you. So DK asks, any particular Buddhist text stroke book you've read where this is exposed directly? So I did study Buddhism a fair bit, but I studied it in a very modern tradition, and the modern tradition did obviously look into ancient texts, for the problematic thing about this all is that it's translated through, 2,500 years, or up to 2,500 years. And a lot of it is just completely loaded with teachings and practices, applications, promising of enlightenment through effort and that kind of thing. Um, but there are if I could say, figures in the Buddhist tradition who appear to directly be exposing shunyata, emptiness, really. I mean, emptiness is not shunyata. The nature of what they're talking about in shunyata is not possibly a teaching. There's nothing to teach about emptiness. Emptiness can't be taught, it can't be learnt, it can't be known. It's not a thing to be any of those. So the exposure of emptiness is completely unnavigatable, and so that would be one of the yeah, the things that appear in Buddhist, philosophy and the tradition that is so incomprehensible. There's no way of teaching that. And of course, the Heart Sutra goes deeply into that. It just goes all about emptiness. It's very easily translated as Buddha's seeing through the emptiness of all things, but actually, if there's a real exposure of emptiness, then there's no separate Buddha seeing through a separate emptiness. There's just emptiness. And emptiness isn't seeing through itself either. There's just emptiness, immediately being everything, immediately being nothing. So the Heart Sutra is pretty good, I would suggest. And there are some stories in the so-called life of the Buddha, which of course is a story, can't be emphasized enough. But there are some stories in the life of the Buddha which are pretty direct as well. Yeah. And there are apparent people like Nagarjuna and certainly in the Zen tradition, actually, because the Zen tradition really doesn't mess around. It doesn't beat around the bush. It just goes straight to the heart of it, if there was a heart to get to. Um, Yeah, a lot of the Vajrayana and all that stuff is painted with symbology, and it's very tantric and expressive visually, and that seems to be much more easily susceptible to path and practice and application. And Zen, of course, is a tradition which people train in and do Zazen meditation and stuff, and so it's usually depicted as a practice and a thing that people do to get somewhere, but I would strongly suggest that the actual original essence of Zen, which is so easily clothed over, is actually this. It's just this. It's too simple for words. When sitting is happening, sitting is happening. When walking is happening, walking is happening. That's not a practice. It's just what's happening. Yeah.
Another very worthwhile sacred text is to read any recent news release from the U.S. president, the current U.S. president. Yeah, that will really get you somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's get somewhere. Bills of wisdom dropping all over the place.
Hello, Alexis.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, Andrew.
Hello. So if everything is just like itself, right? If it's just walking
Hmm.
or just feeling, I feel like there's a sense of energy with feelings where like there's like shifts going on that feel like they're influenced. If
Shifts
that makes
going.
any sense.
Yeah, so influence is suggesting things happening that are causing and affecting one another, which would be the interpretation of separate things happening. Yeah. If there aren't actually separate things occurring, then there's nothing to actually be influencing anything else. So what maybe to be more clear about that, it's as though energetically it can seem as though there are separate things happening that are influencing each other, and that is an abstraction or reality. It's an abstraction or view that, for example, this body is a separate body and there's a separate meal that it apparently ate, and now it's feeling satiated rather than hungry. And that would be an abstractional view of there being a separate this and a separate that, and that caused this to happen. Without that view of abstracted things happening or occurring, there's no actual separate things causing and affecting or influencing, only immediacy. Without the storytelling, without the sense of things, separate things happening, just immediacy. It's just immediately what's appearing. So it can't even be called walking legitimately. Even the word walking is too much. It's suggesting that there's a separate thing called walking happening. So it's just pure immediacy, essentially. Dynamically, immediately this.
I feel like this body is stuck on feelings, like if, because there's a sense of like uh almost like an energy that can look at a feeling and
Right.
then decide to do something, like a looker of energy, like a movement of energy that looks at a
Mm,
feeling, I
mm,
guess.
mm. Yeah, that would be what seems to be a subject-object relationship. That there's someone who is having the feeling, ownership, someone who is knowing the feeling by being separate from it, knowership, someone who is relating to the feeling as theirs, relationship. And then in that feeling of knowership, relationship, ownership, comes the dream of doership, that someone is having that and could do something about it. But that what seems to be watching the feeling happen is actually a complete unreal illusion. It's the entire appearance misperceived as a subjective entity that is consciously aware of the feeling and that they are therefore separate from the feeling. That's it's an unreal dream. And without dream, just feeling, just immediacy, feeling.
Or nothing feeling. It's just
Yeah, you could
being.
say nothing feeling too, yeah. Just yeah, it's pretty much the same way of putting it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
People people talk on and off to me about things. and uh, and they will feel strongly about the subjects. There'll be subjects like things like free will
Mm, mm,
or higher power
mm,
or and at one of the things that happens is it's not falling on something
mm,
when it's being expressed. Often they really couldn't be more beautiful. The impression of it, the impression of just words, wording, and feelings feeling, um and some, yeah, like it couldn't be more beautiful. And I, I don't, there aren't perhaps words to express the absence of relating when it happens. And yet, um, there is such a wholeness. I mean, of course, it's all wholeness.
Yeah.
It's all wholeness. Like
Mm.
there is no giver and getting. There is none of that stuff. Whether or not there's the appearance of that doesn't matter, because the absence of it is already two.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
not two. It's just simply already.
Yeah.
And it's like no one knows. There is no one. There is no one.
Mm.
And there is no one that knows. Like there just simply is no one that knows.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Alexis, like, I mean, you're good at talking. Like, talk a little bit about. I mean, it really does. Words escape uh, in how to describe the absence of relating. I mean, we talk about how there's no relationship.
Mm.
Will you talk about that for a minute?
Mm. Yeah, so there's no one to know that there's no one, and there's no thing to know that there's no thing. And yeah, again, it's the word immediacy comes up because it just seems to tick all boxes, so to speak, of the absence of duality, the absence of separation, the absence of distance, the absence of polarity or binary, the absence of opposition, the absence of time, the absence of space, the absence of consciousness. I mean, if there's no distance, which is really what the word immediacy totally means, there's no distance for there to be a next moment. There's no distance for there to be over there or here. There's no distance for there to be a witness and that which is witnessed. The complete illusory collapsing or dissolving of distance, yeah, total immediacy. No other word seems to capture, and obviously words can't capture. They almost seem to somewhat imply something. But yeah, immediacy. If there was a word that really seems to sum it all up, it's immediacy. No relationship, no one to relate to, no thing to be related to, just it's just so completely total. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, absolutely unknowable, therefore. So unknowable. And so if it's unknowable, then no word, no word possibly captures that. No word elaborates on that, describes that. And therefore nothing can authoritatively say that this is how it is. And that's not right. Or this is how it is. Yeah, nothing definitive at all. Which renders these words useless, wonderfully so, and completely unreliable. Like nothing can depend on these words. Yeah. You can't go for refuge to these words. It's utterly unrelatable. Yeah. I mean, in that is the childlike wonder, really. Yeah, I would suggest.
Yeah, Alexis.
Yeah.
Just on meaning and purpose. Um, the flip around of that is incredible in terms of initially when you hear there is no meaning and purpose, it's scary and it's a horrible idea and it feels nihilistic.
Mm.
without doubt. But then it's seen that in fact the meaning and the purpose is the bondage, is the prison really. It's the
Mm.
antithesis. It's the saying that Course in Miracles. Well, everything is upside down.
Mm.
And it seems that way with that meaning and purpose is the thing that is. If anything has meaning, like you say, it has to have this means that
Right.
too.
Right.
Same with purpose.
Yeah.
And that's the imprisonment.
Yeah, right. If separation is bondage, then meaning is bondage. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I often like to say, because it is so sort of, I mean, it's religiously, spiritually, philosophically, possibly psychologically, and perhaps even extended to just completely humanistically blasphemous. It's just totally blasphemous on almost every single level to pull the rug out, the rug of meaning from underneath the dream's feet. It's like whatever me seems to be appearing, whether it's a religious me or a spiritual one or an atheistic one, it's like you take meaning out and it's like it seems like a cruelty to expose that. But actually, what can't be said enough is that the need for meaning goes away with meaning. The need for meaning, because that needy energy is like it's kind of like a neurosis. It's an energetic neurosis of needing meaning, depending on meaning, like thriving and surviving on meaning as a separate individual, and yet there's no one even in there to which that is happening. And the story of meaning also doesn't have any meaning. So then if meaning appears to be, getting told, then that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything. It's free to appear that way. Why not? Yeah, yeah. Because if there was someone trying to get rid of meaning, then that would surely mean something as well. Well, there's no agenda. Yeah, there's no sense that anything is wrong, that meaningful stories are wrong or that they're right. It's just all just what is appearing to happen. Yeah, but in a dream, it would seem for many that there's a need for meaning, and underneath that need is actually really a deep sense of lack. Because really, to that, in that illusory dreamscape, it seems like this just isn't enough. It just isn't enough. And what would give me, in my dream of mehood, a sense of security and a sense, an artificial, albeit, sense of fulfillment is to tell a meaningful story about when this will be enough or how this will be enough, but it's never enough yet. And so meaning kind of validates that sense of incompletion and yet fools itself into thinking that is actually fulfilling somehow. Yeah. And wholeness, unconditional fulfillment. Yeah, empty formless. It's not relative. It's therefore it's not relatable. Meaning just doesn't even register, let alone is needed or wanted. Yeah. When you mentioned the Zen tradition earlier, did you mean Dogen Suzuki? Um, I can't really remember. I can't remember the different Zen masters, to be honest. I think Dzogchen is one of them, and I think but I can't recall what Dzogchen said or Dogen or Hui Pong or whatever their names are, it's like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Not without, going into the scriptures and the traditions and the books and that. Totally natural, this all is. There's such a naturalness and an ordinariness and a simplicity to sitting and listening unobjectifiably and unsubjectifiably. The naturalness, the ordinariness, the simplicity. No intention to reach some kind of desired outcome from listening to this. No desired outcome for anything to stop happening. There's just the appearance of this, which you could say is appearing as sitting and listening. And that's all there is to it. And that is utterly natural, ordinary, and simple. And yet it's absolutely, wonderfully, utterly absurd. It's utterly, utterly absurd. Wonderfully so. Yeah. It's ordinary absurdity. Yeah. Perhaps that could almost be another oxymoron. Ordinary absurdity. Nothing to figure out. Nothing to get through. No hurdles to jump over or crawl under. In my own illusory lifetime, feeling like there was a next moment to anticipate, a next thing to acquire, and a what's next, existentially and relatably a moment from now, an over then, and an over there, where I'm not yet, but one day or one moment will be. The immediacy is completely, divinely, catastrophically tearing this all apart. All notions of something that's going to happen, change, or become something that's going to shift, to be more or less. It's just simply to already. This dynamically and ordinarily, this. So thank you everyone for coming. Much, much love to you all. Lovely to see you all. Thanks so much for those who are able and willing to show up and donate and subscribe and share and just spread the love, as it were.
Thanks, Alexis.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
You are.
Thanks.
Gracias. Danke.
Ciao.
Thank you. Merci. Thank you. Thank you. Lots of love. Have a nice day. Have a nice evening. See you all soon. And Saturday, Tobias and Alexis No Show. It's the pilot episode, so be there or be square. 7 p.m. GMT time this Saturday. Lots of love.